I'm Keith Callaghan, the designer of the Hadron H2. The Hadron H2 Class Association is preparing a series of videos for the RYA Dinghy Show. And today I'm talking to Kevin Connolly. Kevin is the current holder of the National Championship Ulysses Trophy, which is awarded to the first helm over 70. Kevin, hello. Tell us about your sailing career, first of all.
Well, I was always a keen cricketer until I was 35 and I ruptured my Achilles and I decided that I needed to find another path. So I learned to sail on a javelin, on a trapeze with a friend of mine. And that was an exciting experience and our success rate was fairly low. And then when I learned to helm, like most people, I learned on a Wayfarer and then I bought one. But that was too heavy to pull over the steep ramp that we have at our club. And we tried several boats after that. We raced a Dart 18 at Felixstowe Ferry. We had a Tazar, which is a lovely boat, but didn't really work fantastically well on our river. And then the best boat I had, I think, was an RS 400. And my youngest son, who weighed absolutely nothing, loved coming out, but it was really too much for us. But it did have some of the features that a Hadron has, which is that it's comfortable to sit in and fairly difficult to get up from a capsize, unlike the Hadron. And then my wife and I sailed the Miracle for a number of years, which is another lovely boat. But she then told me after 5 years that she didn't really like sailing. And so I sailed it single-handed and started the search for a single-hander.
Right, so I guess this is where the H2 comes in, but you were one of the very, very first purchasers of the H2, were you not? In fact, it was hardly known to the general public at that time. Why did you decide that?
No, I was looking for a single-hander, and it didn't matter to me what it was, but it had to have some things which allowed me, first of all, it had to be kind on your knees. And second of all, it had to be comfortable enough to sit out, but it had to be quick enough so that I could keep up with the fast fleet in our club. And so I started the search and I went through all the single-handers. And most single-handers, you have to kneel down at some time in it, which is an impossibility for me. And so I just searched and I think I saw the first, was it called the Harrier? Was
the 1970s boat was a Harrier, yes.
Yeah, that sort of idea. And it led me on to thinking, well, you can have a pretty quick boat, but it doesn't have to be really difficult to sail. And then I saw a wooden Hadron for sale. And I definitely didn't want a wooden boat, and I definitely didn't want to start a restoration project. So I spoke to you. I think I sent you an email and said something like, if you're ever going to produce this boat in some sort of plastic, could you please let me know? And you said, we've got the first one coming out of the mold next week.
That was a fortuitous coincidence then.
It was magnificent. And anyway, and then of course I looked it all up, and all those things that people say about it, that, for example, the buoyancy down the middle, which means that on a muddy river like ours, we've got time before the mast gets buried in the mud and probably broken. It's very light, which means that I can easily pull it. It's got a boom which isn't low, so you don't have to duck too far. It also has a second advantage of the fact that when the boat tilts, it doesn't scrape in the water and put you in the water as easily as some other boats. And I think for me, the fact that it had beautiful rolled decks that you could sit on, and it looked fabulous, I think one of the things. So anyway, you invited me down to meet you and Simon. And when we got there, we were looking at the boat, and my wife said to me, that's a beautiful boat. And oh, what nice people they are. So we're going to buy it, she said in the car later. I was thinking, what do we say about this? So anyway, we decided to put an order in, subject to a trial sale. But really, whatever the trial sale had brought, we would have bought it because it's just a fabulous boat. So, and then when I sailed it, I realized that for me, and I'm not a good sailor, I love it, it's one of those boats which is hard to sail to win something, but actually, if you want to take your time in it and just keep it going and enjoy the speed, then you can do that too, because the fact that the mast flicks off a little bit at the top gives you that extra little bit of time. And particularly, I think on a windy reach, it's a fantastic boat because you just can sit there and enjoy it. And I think for me, that's what it is. I love the racing. I love the competitive element, but I'm not in a situation in which I'm trying to get to the front of a fleet.
Well, we're both of a similar age, aren't we? And I can understand exactly what you're saying. It's just a joy to sail. We're never going to win races at our age, but it's a joy to sail. So you sail at Woodbridge on the beautiful River Deben in Suffolk, and you now have the largest H2 fleet in the country. I think that's very much down to your efforts and enthusiasm.
Well, but, I'm enthusiastic, certainly, because I do feel that for me, being older, the fact that I can sail it in the way I want to sail it is great. But I wouldn't like people watching this to think that young people couldn't sail it a lot better, because it has all those attributes. The fact that it is a boat which you can change certain things. So it's not going to be an arms race because the sail and the hull and so on have got to stay as it is, but you can arrange the controls as you want to do. You can have the sheeting as you want it, and all of those sorts of things would, to my mind, attract people who just want to change certain things without getting into huge sums of money. And for the club, it's quite simple. I just said to anybody who wanted to borrow the boat, borrow it, go and sail it, and they all love it. So they all go, yes, we'll buy it. And we'd have more if people, particularly young people, could afford it. And so I'm hoping the second-hand market might help that as the fleet grows.
Yes, in fact, you sold your first H2 and purchased another new one. The second-hand prices are holding up very well. Is that what prompted you to trade up?
Yeah. Well, there were two reasons. One is that my friend wanted to sail one because he'd sailed mine and he loved the boat, and he was coming up to retirement, couldn't afford a new one. And I thought, well, I'll change the colour. I can afford it, and it'd be great if there's two of us. And then I think the third one went to somebody who saw us sailing, and he'd got through all those boats, the same, all the single-handed, much better sailor than me, at the front of the fleet. And he changes his boat frequently. And anyway, he bought one, which was that beautiful grey one, all grey. And well, he just loves it. He just loves it. And that, again, encouraged other people to think, well, that's three of them. Well, why are we not in with this group too? Well,
that's great. Kevin, that's fantastic. Thank you very much for that. And I hope that once this current crisis is over, maybe Easter or a little beyond, we'll all be back sailing, and you can all be enjoying your boats on that lovely river again. And thank you very much.
Thank you, Keith.